Bible prophecy is active and unfolding daily. Zechariah 12, Isaiah 17, Psalm 83, Ezekiel 38. Here is what the LameStream Media is not telling you. Shalom, my friends. Welcome to this week's newscast. From the Gates Stone Institute, in separate messages to the Palestinians on New Year's Eve, both Fatah and Hamas asked their people in Gaza and the West Bank to prepare for increased violence and resistance attacks against Israel. Hamas wants young Palestinians to join its forces and prepare for jihad against Israel. Similarly, several Fatah officials and groups vowed to step up resistance against Israelis and urged Palestinians to join the struggle, that is, the jihad, against Israel. Fatah's Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigades distributed a leaflet in the West Bank saying, quote, "We will continue in the path of the martyrs until the liberation of all of Palestine." Close quote. The leaders of Fatah and Hamas have once again shown they have nothing to offer the Palestinians other than violence, destruction, and death. The Middle East is imploding in waves of violence, and the impact of that violence has now reached Israel. To the north, radical Islamists in Syria, linked to both the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda, are approaching Israel's border on the Golan Heights and threatening Jordan as well. And at the same time, Iran is sending thousands of rockets with increasingly accurate guidance systems to Hezbollah in Lebanon to again attack Israeli cities. To the east, Israel faces an array of potential threats from hostile forces that include Iranian Revolutionary Guards, pro-Iranian Shiite militias, and radical Islamist terror armies. Then to the south, the Islamic State in Sinai, threatening both Israel and Egypt. And as if that wasn't alarming enough, Hamas and Islamic Jihad in Gaza are working feverishly with Iran's assistance to rebuild their rocket capabilities, enabling renewed attacks on Israel. So, Israel must have defensible borders in order to protect itself against such a broad range of current and future threats from radical Islamist forces. Biblical prophecies continue to escalate at an amazing pace, my friends. From the Telegraph UK, a video released last week on social media shows an Islamic extremist with a British accent murdering 5 Arab men accused of spying for the UK. The victims were all shot in the head at point-blank range. Then, in a further chilling twist, a young boy speaking with a British accent also appeared on screen, threatening to kill non-Muslims. Then from Reuters, 30-year-old Edward Archer, who claims allegiance to ISIS, was charged last Saturday with attempted murder in the shooting of a Philadelphia police officer in his squad car, and that was on Thursday, January 7th. Images from a surveillance video showed the gunman dressed in a long white robe, walking toward the car, firing and shooting at point-blank range through the window. Archer told authorities that he ambushed the patrol car, quote, "in the name of Islam," close quote. Now, there's a very important point about having communion that is completely overlooked by, it seems, everyone. Last Thursday, I did a video providing communion services. And there's something I realized since last week that everybody seems to miss. Now, it's something that couldn't be done in a video. However, in church services and so on, I wonder why they don't seem to add this element. And that is that communion is not just a ceremony of breaking bread and, remembering Mashiach and his broken body, and then drinking the fruit of the wine, remembering how he spilled every drop of blood to purchase us. There's a little something more going on if you pay close attention to the Scripture. Let's take a closer look at what the Word reveals to us. Matthew chapter 26, verse 26. As they were eating, Yeshua took bread, and after making a kodesh, he broke it and gave it to the Talmidim and said, "Take, eat, this is my body." Now, that verse opens up with, as they were eating. So, communion really should be and is a part of having dinner with your family, your friends, your loved ones, or if you're having a particular kind of fellowship, as many churches claim to. This should be an activity that is primarily a dinner. Everyone sits down. I've been saying this lately in my videos that there's something very special about eating with others. It's a higher form of fellowship. And I still can't quite verbalize it, but there's something about sitting at a table and eating, making noise, smacking your lips, and sharing, talking, and having fellowship. So Yeshua was doing this with his Talmidim, his disciples. They were eating. They were already supping and talking. And while they were doing that, he picked up the bread and he made it kodesh. He prayed over it, dedicated it to Abba Father. And then he broke it and gave it to his Talmidim, said, "Take, eat, this is my body." Now we go over to 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 25, where we read, "In the same way he took the cup of wine after supper, saying, 'This cup is the renewed covenant between Elohim and his people, an agreement confirmed with my blood. As often as you drink it, do this in remembrance of me.'" So now we see that when everyone had finished their meal, everyone had finished eating, then Yeshua picked up the cup and said, "This is the renewed covenant between Elohim and his people." Not a new covenant, not a New Testament, a renewed covenant. Genesis to Revelation is one covenant. An agreement confirmed with my blood. As often as you drink this, do it in remembrance of me. So really, communion, and as I said, I couldn't do this in the video because I couldn't provide food for everybody. But if I was doing communion services and my friends were coming for communion, it would be a matter of everyone sitting down to eat and have fellowship with one another. And at some point, after everybody was into that, then I would get everyone's attention and take the bread, break it, and pass it along so everyone else can break bread because his body was broken. And we do that honoring and esteeming Abba Father and Yeshua and the work of his Ruach, his Spirit. Then everybody continues eating. And when they're all finished with their meal, then I would raise the cup and esteem the Father and his Son and his Ruach with the wine. And, this is something, if you have a family, friends, do a special dinner every Saturday or once a month or whatever. It's not something that's done once a year at Pesach, Passover. He says every time you do this, it should be a regular thing. But the point I wanted to make was this is a dinner. It's not just, okay, let's have the bread, let's have the wine, we did it, everybody go home. No, let's sit down, we'll have dinner. And at some point, we're going to stop everybody and we'll do the bread. Then we all finish our dinner. Fellowship. And when the meal is over with, then do the wine. Now, there's something else that's been continually pervading my thoughts these past few weeks, my friends. Something I'd like your feedback on before I go any further with the idea. And that is this. I'd like you to let me know in the comments below this newscast if you have been struggling with cigarette smoking, or if anyone close to you has been struggling with it, trying to quit the habit but experiencing completely unsuccessful attempts, which I imagine is the way of it at this point in time with everyone who's trying to quit. But if you're having this problem or you have people that you love and are concerned about that are having the problem, I have a rather large amount of information, most of which would be completely new to you. And one particular thing, which has only recently been developed, that would be extremely helpful. But since this is a subject that is very unusual for my YouTube channel, I want your input before I proceed. Again, if you're struggling with this matter and or have a close one who is, let me know if you would like me to make a video about a very successful and a very easy and enjoyable way out. It will be a rather lengthy video and a lot of work for me to tackle, but I'm eager to do it. And also, it would not take the place of our regular Thursday word studies. I would put it up on a Wednesday or a Friday, something like that. Let me know if you're interested. And let me know if you have any specific things about it that you might want me to cover. Now, turning to wars and rumors of wars, on Tuesday, January 5th, Iran unveiled a new underground missile depot with state television showing weapons in store that the United States says are capable of carrying nuclear warheads. On Saturday, January 9th, from ARA News, a Syrian independent press agency, at least 40 militant fighters of the Islamic State were killed in clashes with the Western-backed Syrian Democratic Forces. Then, on Sunday, January 10th, leadership of the Syrian Democratic Forces reported that ISIS launched a new offensive against their headquarters in the vicinity of Tishrin Dam in northeastern Aleppo. Turning to our Intifada update. On Monday, January 4th, from Haaretz, a 16-year-old Palestinian boy from East Jerusalem tried to stab Israeli police officers. The police shot and wounded the boy in the legs, and unfortunately, an Israeli girl was wounded by ricocheting bullet fragments. An explosive device detonated near two Israeli Defense Forces armored bulldozers in the Hardov area along the border with Lebanon. There were no casualties. Hezbollah claimed credit for the explosion. The Israeli army responded with artillery fire. Then on Tuesday, January 5th, from Haaretz, in the morning, a Palestinian got out of a vehicle at the Gush Etzion junction in the West Bank and stabbed an Israeli soldier in the face and hand. The Palestinian assailant was shot and killed at the scene. Then on Thursday, January 7th, from the Jerusalem Post, Israeli security forces killed 3 Palestinian assailants attempting to stab Israeli forces at the Gush Etzion junction in the West Bank. All 3 Palestinians were armed with knives. Later that day, security forces killed a Palestinian assailant attempting to stab IDF forces at the Beit Anun junction near Hebron. And then on Friday, January 8th, from Ynet News, Nashat Milhem, the terrorist who killed 3 people in Tel Aviv a week ago, was shot dead by security forces in the Israeli Arab town of Arara after he opened fire at them. Milhem had been hiding in Arara for a week, apparently aided by family members. Then on Saturday, January 9th, from Ynet News, IDF soldiers shot and killed 2 Palestinians who tried to attack them with knives at the Becheot checkpoint in the northern West Bank. On Monday, January 11th, from the Times of Israel, IDF troops shot and injured a Palestinian man who attempted to stab them near Hermesh in the northern West Bank. Turning to our review of last week's news, both Fatah and Hamas asked their people in Gaza and the West Bank to prepare for increased violence and resistance attacks against Israel. The Middle East is imploding in waves of violence, and the impact of that violence has now reached Israel. A video released last week shows an Islamic extremist murdering 5 Arab men accused of spying for the UK, and, in a further chilling twist, a young boy also appeared on screen threatening to kill all non-Muslims. A policeman in Philadelphia, USA, was shot at point-blank range in the name of Islam. Iran unveiled a new underground missile depot with state television showing weapons in store that are capable of carrying nuclear warheads. At least 40 militant fighters of the Islamic State were killed in clashes with the Western-backed Syrian Democratic Forces. And then the following day, ISIS launched a new offensive against their headquarters in northeastern Aleppo. A 16-year-old boy was wounded and apprehended while trying to stab Israeli police officers. An explosive device detonated near 2 Israeli Defense Forces armored bulldozers. Israeli army responded with artillery fire. A Palestinian got out of a vehicle and stabbed an Israeli soldier in the face and hand. Israeli security forces killed 3 Palestinian assailants attempting to stab Israeli forces. Security forces killed a Palestinian assailant attempting to stab IDF forces. The terrorist who killed 3 people in Tel Aviv a week ago was shot dead by security forces after he opened fire on them. IDF soldiers shot and killed 2 Palestinians who tried to attack them with knives. And IDF troops shot and injured a Palestinian man who attempted to stab them. And that, my friends, is what the LameStream Media is not telling you. Abba willing, I'll see you here again next week. Until then, stay safe. Shalom.
Crowded rooms, I need more space than I consume. Enough is time alone with you. underneath the naked moon, sharing confidential moods and making chatter. Mockingbird nocturnal sings notations of eternal things, entering the quantum breeze, flying not for want of wings. He lights his gaze on you and me, simply because we matter.